My name is Jim Schaefer. I've been at Georgetown since the fall of 1992 and retired in the end of June in 2016. When I came to the graduate school, I was hired as Assistant Dean for Financial Aid, which meant the merit-based scholarships and fellowships. We had a close relationship with the people in the financial aid office for the loan process, but things were sort of touchy at that time between the graduate school and that office, and I was working to try to ease that over. At the same time, I was trying to figure out what the heck this job was I was doing. I had difficulty at first because I'm not really a numbers person, and my predecessor had done everything on paper, literally on pieces of paper with different colored pencils to indicate various changes and all sorts of strange things. And instead of doing the accounting by dollars, they did it by sort of rounding off awards. An award was a stipend and a scholarship. And if somebody didn't use all of their scholarship, well, then that was a quarter of a scholarship that we could give to somebody else. And it drove me crazy, because here I was responsible for rounding out a dollar system that wasn't being accounted for in dollars. Eventually, I said, I have to do this on the computer. I had minimal Excel skills at that time, but became very good at Excel over the time. I started off actually by building, because I'd done some time before I was gainfully employed after getting my PhD, was not gainfully employed, and I was self-employed as a freelance programmer. I learned DBase, and so I programmed a scholarship system in DBase, here actually FoxPro, that I was able to then not only keep track in terms of dollars, but also was able to design reports that I was sent out to the programs who had never had that information before. And that was helpful for them and for me. It also was a way that I started getting involved with the information systems across the university. By creating our own system, I was in a sense doing the same thing the graduate school was doing elsewhere on paper, keeping its admissions records on file cards, not sharing a lot of information with the registrar, and this became a goal that I had to actually help us get integrated with the rest of the university. UNet, as in one, we were supposed to be one university. And eventually I wound up spending a lot of my time serving on various UIS committees with the registrar and financial aid also as members. And by the time I left, we were working in a very integrated way with the rest of the university, but it was kind of a slog to get there. And I was only a part of that, mechanism. There were a lot of other people involved in that too, people who, with a longer history here than I had. When I came, the graduate school was much smaller. I think we had around 3,000 students at the time. And stipends were very small. I think they were around $2,500, though my memory is a little fuzzy after 30 odd years. But by the time we came to, at that time I came under the deanship of Richard Swartz. And when Joe Serene came on as dean, there was a lot more impetus put to this idea of integrating us in admissions and financial aid and academic affairs with the registrar's office and the other parts of the university. And it was when Joe Serene came that I then was folded in the responsibilities of the financial aid with academic affairs, which is really what I wanted to do. Anyway, for some strange reason, I still have this memory as an undergraduate of having at one point to meet the academic dean of my school. And it wasn't necessarily under the best circumstances, but I left his office thinking, he's got a really interesting job. I have no idea what he does, but this must be fun. Well, no, it wasn't fun, but I enjoyed doing it. Thanks to the advocacy of a number of deans, our stipends are greatly improved and are really now on a par with our competition. And the academic programs, I am happy to see, are not as narrowly focused as they were when we first came. One of the things that, again, with Joe's guidance, the graduate school became more open to the faculty. And the previous dean, now I can't even remember what the committee is called. I've been out for 3 years and it's gone. The dean's committee that runs things, makes the approvals of new programs and that sort of thing. That committee was an entirely closed box, and changes came out of it without really a whole lot of input from many faculty. That is much changed now. Programs are widely represented. Everybody has a say, and it's much more interesting. And there are many more, there are more relationships between the programs than there were before. Previously, the programs were very siloed, and people in government never talked to people in linguistics, who never talked to people in history. And that's very different now, in part because we have more cooperative programs. Eventually, I wound up, with one of the dean's encouragement, taking a leave period to get back to photography, which I had done as an undergraduate and I really loved, but I hadn't taken a photograph for 20 years when I came here. And in about 2000, I started on that again. And in 2005, I started teaching the history of photography out of the CCT program, and then out of American Studies. And working with those students was really wonderful. It was the best teaching experience I'd ever had. And I actually learned a lot, as teachers say. I must have been doing it because I learned a lot in the process of doing it. Still enjoy it.